Alrighty, guys. So this week I saw Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, the highly anticipated film. Right. And all I can say is this film is an absolute nightmare, an absolute disaster, and probably everything you expected. Is what I would say if this movie wasn't actually fantastic. This movie has been the figure of a lot of controversy leading up to its release. It had the second most disliked Hollywood trailer of all time with over 600,000 dislikes on YouTube. So, for those out of the loop, what's the big deal? This is coming from an esteemed director in Christopher Nolan with a star studded cast. Why is this movie getting so hated before even it released? Well, the problem with this movie may, in fact, lie in you. Yes, you watching this video. Actually, maybe not you. Depends what side of the fence you land on. But this movie, I'm going to get into a little bit of a review, but this video is mostly going to be a synopsis of the massive hate wave that this movie has gotten, why I think it's absolutely silly, and why many people are probably robbing themselves of seeing one of Christopher Nolan's best movies for a cultural divide in our culture right now. So let's get into it. So first of all, what's the controversy? I'm going to talk to you throughout this video as if you're completely out of the loop, because I mostly was. I wasn't really highly anticipating this film. I do love a lot of Christopher Nolan's movies. Had a star-studded cast. I was definitely going to watch it. But in terms of all the internet talk that's been happening on Twitter, YouTube, whatever, I have been out of the loop mostly. I saw a lot of the comments leading up talking about why there was so much controversy, and it mainly lies with three things. The first is the casting. The second is historical accuracy. And the third is the dialogue and the screenwriting. I'm going to break all three of these topics down piece by piece. And I'm going to end with putting a bow on it synopsis on why it's silly and what this might have been caused by and the large problem we're having in our culture at large. So the casting. First thing I'm going to touch on is the casting in this movie. When this movie was announced and as the casting started to roll out, it had an absolutely star-studded cast. Like, undeniably. You have Matt Damon in the leading role. You got Tom Holland, fresh Spider-Man. You got Zendaya, Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, if I'm saying her last name wrong, right. I hope I'm not butchering it. John Bernthal, the Punisher. Just an absolutely stacked cast. And when this was initially teased out, I remember there being some initial excitement from the internet saying, all right, this movie must have an unlimited budget because we're getting all the actors in the world, I guess. That was true until the trailer released, the second most disliked Hollywood trailer of all time. Now, there's two main casting roles that people had a large problem with. The first one was Elliot Page. The second one was Lupita Nyong'o. They both play Sinon and Helen of Troy, respectively. So, what was the deal with these castings? The first one is Elliot Page is a transgender. If you remember back in the early 2010s, Ellen Page, she looks exactly like Ellie from The Last of Us. It's probably what she's based on. I remember I had a small crush on her when I was a kid from Juno. You know, cute next door neighbor type girl. Now he goes by Elliot Page, transgender. Okay. Then you got Lupita Nyong'o, and she's black. All right, that's the controversy with her casting. Another small critique I saw from people is that this was a DEI movie or a goy slop movie, like it was made in fucking Israel, just because of the massive amount of stars they were pumping into this movie, as if it was Avengers Doomsday, and they're just bringing in everybody to rake up the cash. Christopher Nolan is pretty particular with who he works with as a director, and I just think that case is silly. Elliot Page himself is not a huge actor now. And don't get me wrong, this absolutely has a star-studded cast, but each role seemed meticulously planned. And I do got to say, most of the big stars in this movie, besides obviously Matt Damon, Anne Hathaway, Tom Holland, they have a very small role and very, very limited screen time in this movie. Even Travis Scott, I feel like obviously he has like a minute of screen time. The fact that Christopher Nolan chose him because he sees music and rap as a form of oral poetry, which is the way the Odyssey was passed down, that's actually a very meticulous reason to cast an A-list rapper in your movie. Now, to get back to Elliot Page and Lupita Nyong'o, what's the problem with these castings? Well, the first is a major rumor came out that Elliot Page was playing Achilles. And ain't no transgender gonna play Achilles. This is one of the greatest warriors of all time. It was complete bullshit. And Elliot Page's character is actually Sinon, a character not in the original Odyssey. And I gotta say, I actually, despite like 2 minutes of screen time, I thought this casting was actually perfect. See, Sinon in this movie is actually, it ties into Robert Pattinson's character, is someone who took his place to go to war. Elliot Page does not have the characteristics of Sylvester Stallone or, any A-list action hero you can think of. He is not the characteristic hero archetype. In the beginning of this movie, Elliot Page is killed. Straight up. 1 minute of screen time and speared through the chest. How's that for you, snowflake pussies? Your transgender hero has been killed in the beginning of the film. That's what you get for enjoying DEI, Israel-funded goy slap. But jokes aside, I thought this casting was perfect because Sinon as a character is supposed to be someone that doesn't fit that hero archetype. Sinon was drafted into this war as a child, a literal child, and is still a young teenager, basically, by the time he's killed in the beginning of the movie. That sacrifice, which is reflected in a later scene when they go to hell, basically, and Odysseus, Matt Damon's character, ends up talking to Sinon. That sacrifice that Elliot Page's character made ends up winning them the war. That's how they get the Trojan horse in. They needed someone to tell them what it was for to bring it into the city of Troy. That sacrifice from Sinon ends up winning them the war from someone who doesn't seem like an archetypal warrior or hero. And this is something that, despite the limited screen time, weighs heavily on Odysseus's mind, which is when we get into the themes of post-traumatic stress disorder and things of that nature in this movie. So, to put a bow on that, I think the casting was actually perfectly done, despite the limited screen time. Now, Lupita Nyong'o's character, Helena Troy. 45 seconds of screen time, I shit you not. Probably only like a minute max, okay? The backlash for this was because she's black, okay? This is going to tie into another controversy people found with this movie leading up to it, which was historical inaccuracies, which I'm going to get into in the next topic. So we're going to cover that. But she's black. She plays Helena Troy, who is a woman they went to war over. Lupita's a magnificent actress. She is a great actress. I'm pretty sure she has a fucking Oscar or some shit. And for the 45 seconds she's in this movie, she's great. Plays her role super well. And that's it with Lupita Nyong'o. It really is kind of just racism for people. Why is this black character the most beautiful woman in the world? What is this DEI goy slap? It's just kind of silly, especially for such a small role. If it really bothers you that much, it's literally 45 seconds of the movie. Now, to get into the next topic and the reason people had controversy with this film, or problems with this film leading up to it. Historical inaccuracies, okay? And this is going to relate, again, to the Helen of Troy casting, because why would there be a black person in ancient Greece? What is going on? And you know what? If that's really your cup of tea, if you're going to a movie about a mythological story with Cyclops, with a Cyclops and with sea monsters, and a story that in of itself is filled with historical inaccuracies, the Iliad specifically is littered in the story with technologies from different ages. First, you got the Bronze Age with some weapons, then you have some more recent to when Homer originally made his epic poem. Point being that this is a mythological story that was written with historical inaccuracies itself. If that is truly a deal breaker for you, then that's fine. I honestly see no problem with that, but I feel like 99% of people watching the movie actually don't care that much. Would it have been cool to see whatever time period this was supposed to be, it would have been in the Bronze Age, to see everything reflected accurately, like the armor, the ships. There was a big problem with that. Agamemnon's armor was a big problem for certain people. Would that have been cool? Yeah, maybe. But at the end of the day, this is a movie. It's a modern retelling of this epic poem, and it did not take me out of the movie at all, because at the end of the day, the original poem doesn't even have a specific consistency in history with what these people are supposed to be fighting with or sailing on, etc. So for me personally, the casting of having all these star-studded actors and actresses who act their ass off in this movie and give great performances, the casting of Elliot Page in an appropriately casted role, the casting of Helen of Troy being a black actress, this is all nitpicks, and if you actually care that much, I don't think you're really trying to see whether the film is good or bad. I think you're trying to justify something within yourself from an echo chamber that you may have created in your own space. This is going to lead into the final part of the video, talking about why I found this so stupid. So stupid that this controversy with it now recently coming out, people absolutely dogging on this movie that haven't even seen it. And again, I'm just going to say, I can't recommend this movie enough. I do put it up with some of Christopher Nolan's best movies. It's up there with Interstellar for me, which is probably my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. It's up there with the Batman movies. It's up there with Inception. It's a great movie. The expansion of certain topics in this movie, which a lot of modern stories, and stories being people's lived experiences, can relate to. Odysseus's journey and the traumas he's received, taking all the time to get back to his wife and his home. This movie asks the question, what is it worth to get home when what you have experienced has changed you as a person? Does love stand the test of time, even if time and space separates you, and on the other end of that journey, you're a completely different person filled with guilt, regrets, and things that you had to do to get back? It was seriously touched on in such an awesome way. I'm not going to spoil the movie if you haven't seen it, but I thought that was, for those that were dogging on the screenwriting or the writing itself of this movie, Christopher Nolan took probably the most interesting concepts that you could take from that story and expanded upon it beautifully. I thought it was so good. And the movie itself is just so epic. That's something that's been thrown around in like every review. Oh, it's epic. And, you know, a lot of the people that are hating on this movie have been going on good reviews of the movie, which most of them are from people who have seen it, and saying, this is a paid post. They all follow the same script. They're all saying it's just epic. They're saying it's epic, and so gives a good performance. It's all the same script. Warner Brothers, backed by Israel and Mossad, is paying these people off to put this DEI slop and gender swapping and race swapping in our movies. Like, bro, it's really not that deep at the end of the day. A good movie is just a good movie. And most of the negative comments I've seen are from people that had a predetermined decision before they've seen it. Most people I've seen dogging on this movie haven't seen it because of this massive sheep flock of hate that this movie got based on the first trailer. And for what really inspired me to make this video coming out of seeing the Odyssey was this represents a cultural divide that we currently have in our culture of echo chambers and cults of thought where people don't really have their own opinions, or they have opinions and they're so connected to one side of the fence that, these are small roles. Elliot Page has a small role. Very, very, very small role, minor role. Same with Lupita Nyong'o. These are small roles in a massive 3-hour movie that if you watched it, even if you dislike it, it won't take you out of the movie. And unfortunately, the Odyssey is not alone in this. I think growing more in our culture is this venom in people where they feel so connected to one side, where these little molehills have become mountains of problems that are the end of the world. This is just woke casting. This is phoned in. It's just obviously not the case. Christopher Nolan's a director that has put so much effort into making his films as real as possible with his infamous use of mostly practical effects, which is in this movie. This is the first movie filmed entirely on IMAX. If you watch any of the interviews with any of the actors and actresses, they say this is the hardest film they've ever worked on because that is how much Christopher Nolan puts into his craft. It's just really unfortunate to come out of a movie that I enjoyed so much. I was pleasantly surprised by. Obviously, this hate thought movement, whatever, boycott, whatever you want to call it, I was kind of out of the loop on that. I didn't even watch the trailers for this movie. Maybe I did once, but I was really out of the loop on the online thing. I'm not like a big Greek mythology or mythology guy. I just enjoy Christopher Nolan's movies. And with the cast, I was like, oh, all right, I'll go see this movie. And I was so blown away with how good it was. Like, it honestly exceeded my expectations. To see the enjoyment of that stolen from some people due to a preconceived notion of their own biases, or to see someone who may have enjoyed the movie otherwise be clouded by 2 minutes of screen time from a transgender actor or a black actress is really just silly and a bit sad. And it's really unfortunate because, 600,000 people went to the Odyssey trailer and clicked dislike due to whoever their favorite YouTuber is telling them that, oh, this looks like it's going to be fucking ass. They got a black actress in Greece. How is it going to happen? It's just really sad, especially when, this is a movie and a lot of the same problems in this movie that they would have are rampant in other movies that they probably enjoy. It's just unfortunate groupthink and a very sad representation of where we are in our culture right now, where we are so attached to one side that we feel like it is a life or death battle over things that are normal in movies, especially specifically with this movie being an adaptation of something that isn't historically accurate in a time where the plays that the Greeks would have included primarily cross-dressing for all female roles. It is a little bit ironic. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the controversy surrounding the Odyssey. This wasn't really a review of the movie. I'd probably give this movie like a 9 out of 10 if I were to give it a score. I could go into a deeper review in the movie itself if you guys want to see that in another video. So just let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you saw the movie and you disliked it, you liked it. If you haven't seen the movie and you have a specific reason why. I'd really like to start a good conversation in the comments about what you thought. And yeah, that's about it. See ya.